Welcome to Shifting Out Loud with Shannon and Lena, where we make real connections in topics that need to be addressed. We use creativity to educate and commit to making our community better through this process. So we have been doing a hormone series, and we're very excited to bring episode 4 to you, which is going to be on oxytocin. If you have not watched the others, please go to our channel at Shifting Out Loud and catch up on those episodes. So, oxytocin is known as the love hormone. So, that's what we're talking about today. So, when we say, when I say oxytocin, what's the first thing that comes to your mind?
Labor, having a baby, labor.
I also think of hugs for some reason. So, we don't get into it, but those are the two things that come to my mind when I hear oxytocin.
That's the yin yang of us. I think about the
You think about the hard
the
stuff.
most terrible right? When it comes to hormones and stuff. I'm like, but I really think that's probably because I'm in Perry. All the hormones. I feel like they're disrespectful, doing me wrong. So oxytocin, I'm like, baby. But go
Oh,
ahead, carry
sounds
on.
like you might be lacking some oxytocin. You need a hug.
Maybe, child, maybe.
All
All
right.
right.
So, let's get into it. You want to tell us
Okay.
what oxytocin is?
So, oxytocin is a hormone and a
Okay.
neurotransmitter that's associated with empathy, trust, sexual activity, and relationship building, which I think of none of them, like you said. It's also sometimes referred to as the love hormone because levels of oxytocin during or increase during hugging and orgasms.
Okay. I
Ain't
think
that something?
I used to think about hugging. I think, if I'm not mistaken, there was several videos I ran into on social media talking about how, if you get a hug for 8 seconds or something, your oxytocin levels go up.
I remember
I
that.
also heard that you need a certain amount of hugs a day to just like
Hmm.
your social well being, I guess, feeling
I
of being
remember that.
um, like
Hmm.
some type of closeness or whatever. And I guess, we weren't made to live alone, to be alone. So we need connection. So I'm
Yep,
guessing
the
that's
beauty.
where it's from.
Sorry. Yep, the beauty of social or human interaction, right? And
Right.
which is funny because it still is the root of everything still goes back to love.
True.
It
Jesus.
really does.
Right.
All right.
God is love. So
God
make
is love. So
yeah.
true. All right. So, what are the functions? What's the function of it?
Social bonding was one of the top things that came up.
Okay.
Again, feeling of closeness or attachment, trust, empathy, and just enhancing relationships and social interaction. So I think that social bonding, and I'm just thinking about it, you typically feel pretty good when you're able to bond with someone. You know,
Yeah. That
when you
made me think about what you sent me, if I can read it.
yeah, go
Because
ahead.
I think it's perfect. When you want to increase the health benefits of a walk, right? Bonding, getting together, and exercising. This is when you want to increase the health benefits 3 times, increase the health benefits of your walk. Not only do you get a big boost of oxytocin, the love and connection hormone, but you get a boost of serotonin and dopamine and a
Ooh.
significant drop in cortisol. Cortisol gives us big round midsections, y'all, but reduces cortisol, not to mention growth of an area of your brain called the hippocampus, which is responsible for memory and cognition. So it's giving you the boost and it's also creating good memories.
Right.
Is that in a nutshell? Yep, good for longevity, good for your mood, and good for your stress. So,
Yeah, that makes sense. And I guess this is why you see a lot of women doing a lot of things together. Not saying men don't, but and if I'm not mistaken, during this research, I did see that women, I don't want to, females have higher levels of oxytocin than males.
yeah, for the
I
babies.
this what it makes it makes sense because But if you think about it, women, we spend from what I can see, again, we spend a lot more time bonding
This
with,
is true.
and
This is
so
true.
that makes sense because you know that social interaction, the hugs, just the connection,
Don't
and
you think
I,
our bellies? Don't you think our bellies should be smaller then?
right, we should have six
But
packs,
we, you know what we do though? We walk, we talk, but
and
then
then
we gonna eat.
yes,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Never
right,
mind. Never
right.
mind. We're counterproductive.
But we gotta eat. I guess we just gotta eat the right stuff. But no, I think that makes sense that, you see higher levels in women than men because, we bond differently from men. That's just a fact.
And
Um
I feel like we should break that stigma, but that's another
I agree.
conversation. But yes, yeah.
Like men bond more, but I think it's something naturally in us. I think the way God made us as females, I think it's just something natural in us to we need that connection. And I've seen several videos with professionals talking about that you actually live longer when
Hmm.
you have close friends. Um
Good friends. Hmm.
Good friends, yes. Key
To be
point. Good.
specific. Yeah.
Yes. So, yeah, I just think, we weren't made to, and I understand a man's role is a little bit different from ours. So, but I just think it's a good thing. I know how I feel when I spend time with a good friend. And, after it does do something. It gives you a boost of something.
It
So,
does. It does. I agree. Absolutely. So let's talk about reproduction. It stimulates uterine contractions during childbirth and milk ejection during breastfeeding.
hmm, yeah.
So, because I was
I'm
like, how is this love? I don't feel love during the contractions, and
gonna
you were
tell you,
like,
I'm gonna tell you
uh-huh.
what I'm thinking. It's love because of sacrifice.
Hallelujah. Come on.
Because we're sacrificing for this child and we're
Okay.
paying.
Make it work for me.
You
Make
know,
it work for me.
one thing that makes sense to me.
I'm gonna take it.
But I'm gonna say when I thought about reproduction and oxytocin, the only thing I could remember is when I was induced to have my daughter. That's when I first started hearing about oxytocin and knew nothing much about it before then. But yeah, I just thought it was like medicine, is what I thought it
Hmm.
was.
Yes. Yep.
So, and I know that there is a medication, there is a synthetic that you can be given, but I
Hmm.
never knew it was just something that we naturally, you know,
God's
get.
machine, child.
Right.
Everything you need, everything. We get real sticky, but it's everything naturally, like even just the producing of life,
Yes.
everything. So, all right,
Yep.
what else we got? Because oh, we said the milk production, but is it well, never mind. I guess it's the love of the child because we need to nurture, we need to feed the
Right.
baby,
Yeah.
all the things, and so it helps us do all that. Okay,
Yeah.
carry on,
So I
carry on.
but what you just said, to add to it, I thought that was interesting because I was told when I had my daughter, from the lactation nurse that, when that baby latches on, it's producing oxytocin so that you can continue to produce milk and everything. So full circle. Just
Well, it is because, and you know what? I'm glad you know. I get because I was like, let's move on. But even in psychology, the lack thereof. So
hmm
when, let's say, a mom is depressed
hmm
or not as happy when they have the baby, it's really hard to produce. So
that
that love is not there. That's that missing piece.
yeah.
So it does go a little deeper. So yeah, thank you for that. That
Yep.
is, we just talked about that the other day. Sure did.
Yep.
When you're scared and anxious and not in a good place, that milk does not come.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I remember that happening with my if I be transparent for a minute, I remember that happening with my second child because I he was the rainbow baby. And
hmm
so I was nervous and scared the whole not shouldn't say the whole time, but nervous and you're extra cautious and
Yeah.
this and that. So that was some type of, anxiety and being anxious,
Right.
just praying and hoping everything's going well. that it took me a minute to even begin to feed. Like, natural is like the baby comes and the
Right.
milk starts to flow. And then I don't think my milk came until until we were home.
Yeah. Well, it takes a while to begin with because I was confused about that in the beginning. You start with that colostrum. So I thought like when milk come, it was just gonna be just milk. Like I didn't realize that it don't start out that way.
A
So
whole, yeah.
it takes some patience through that process.
Say it again. Yes.
Yes.
But yeah, so that's all right.
Yeah.
That makes perfect
So
sense.
what about stress regulation? We saw that in our research.
hmm How it reduces stress responses and promotes relaxation, potentially acting as an antidepressant. Look at there. Natural medicine again. Lord,
Yes.
we thank you. Okay.
Everything we need is already here. Right.
It is crazy. Because didn't you mention something about, or not mentioned yet, we were talking when we were getting things together, when you were talking about can be used for irritable bowel syndrome, because we were like, well, why? But it relaxes that GI tract.
Yeah, that makes sense now, but I was confused when I first read that. I was like, well, what that got to do with Yeah, but that makes sense. So let's talk about how oxytocin is produced. So it's produced in the hypothalamus and released into the bloodstream by the posterior pituitary gland. Its release is triggered by different stimuli. So again, we talked about social interactions, orgasm, childbirth. I'm still struggling with that. I guess you do feel love after it's all said and done. Once the baby out, you like, oh, but the process, I don't know about love. And then breastfeeding. But
Uh-huh.
again, I do feel like the childbirth and the breastfeeding could be it's sacrifice. You know what I'm saying? So, and that is love.
But nobody wants to talk about it like oxytocin with the orgasm. Because remember, I did. Seriously. Like a lot of people that kind
Hmm.
of can go into labor after a good session.
Oh yeah.
Was that politically correct? After a
Yes.
good session? Okay. So, yeah, but I sidebar for a moment. You'll start seeing little pieces. The pituitary gland is a bad mamma jamma. Like it's a little bitty, but
It do
it's
a lot.
mighty. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It goes, we might have to talk about that too.
Mm.
It does a lot.
Yes, it
It does
does.
a lot. So let's see. Females usually have a higher level than
Mhm.
males. You said that, right? And
Right.
then we're going to go into medical uses. So, of course, the first is the obvious, the induction of labor is synthetic, but can be administered to induce uterine contractions in women who are not in labor to make them go into labor.
Yes.
So,
So I'm gonna just say on that, just knowing what I know today, I would have tried to hold off on that induction, because I feel like they gave me so much oxytocin. I mean, but nothing was happening. So my body just was not ready. So I would encourage anyone to try to let your body go through the process. Obviously, we're not doctors or anything like that. Talk to
right.
the doctor, ask questions, do your research. But
If
just
you're in danger, do what you must to keep you and baby safe, but just a convenience thing,
right, right.
the
Your body
Lord know when that baby need to come out.
Right. Your body was made to do this. And I think sometimes, again, we just need patience. And I know for me, I was good. I had no plan on being induced at all, but I did have a pretty tough car accident when I was about 37 weeks. I started having like pain on my jaw, and I was just over it. And them last couple weeks or so can be pretty rough on you anyway.
They try every ounce of faith you have.
Nobody would see me. My dentist would not see me because I was so far along in my pregnancy and everything. And I was just miserable. So, when it came around to my due date and I went
Yeah.
in and they said I wasn't dilated at all, I was like, what you mean? Like, I'm tired. I'm hurting. They're
And
like,
but I'm with you. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
they were just like, by law they're going to offer you induction, right? And so I had declined the previous 2 weeks, and he had already told me my doctor was good. He would always say, by law, I have to offer it. I do not recommend it. He would tell me
That's a
that.
good doctor.
And so,
That's a
due date,
great doctor.
like, he's saying the same thing. He was like, again, it's the due date, but that still doesn't mean we have to, I don't recommend it. I won't let you go too far.
Yeah,
So he assured me of that. But that
that's
pain,
a
and then I think when you got a December baby, I'm like, if I wait any longer, we gonna be it's gonna be a Christmas baby. And I'm just like, I'm looking at my husband, I'm like, he's like, yeah, let's just do it. Let's just do it. And I'm still not thinking it's gonna be like that. And I said, yeah, let's go ahead and do it. He's like, can you be here tonight? And I'm like, but I
that
often
was quick,
wonder,
quick. Oh Lord.
I often wonder because they started the Pitocin that night.
Okay.
I often wonder, had I waited, would my body just have done what it was supposed to do? You know what I mean? And so
More than not.
I
But I
wouldn't,
think with you saying that, if I can add, with you saying that, I think us as women and just people in general, whether it be childbirth or whether it be just a health concern, that we really have to get in a good headspace and take emotions
out.
out of the equation, because you go back to the thing where you can't make a decision too high or too low, and
Right.
usually we're definitely too high because we're
Yeah.
like, I'm done, good and
Right.
done, and it may not be the best fit for us,
But
and
you
I'm
gotta have
speaking
a good,
from me too, medically.
right. You gotta have a
So
support system. You gotta have good patient people in your corner that's gonna understand where you are emotionally, but still try to redirect you to the best
yeah.
decision. And they can't be emotional too. They can't be
And I think that's huge, because I think people be like, "Oh, she's stressed. Go ahead." But
just
you
let
gotta have, like, you need that one friend that you can't stand, and you gonna be mad at for a good 30 seconds, but they told you right.
yes, you're
Like, I
right.
think we need that, because there's some choices I've made sometimes medically that had someone said, first of all, get your little feelings out of your pocket, take a deep breath, and we'll talk about this in a day or two. That I would have said, you know what? Let's not do this way.
Yeah.
I don't, but you have enablers in the corner sometimes.
Yeah.
I don't want an enabler. I want to, you not in your right mind right now.
Right.
You stressed. This is a stress response and decision that's going
Yeah.
to last for a long time.
Right.
I
That's true.
really do. Yeah.
True. That was
Okay.
a real point.
Uh,
So the
me
other
too. On something else, but me too. Yeah.
right, other part of the medical uses was postpartum bleeding. Oxytocin can help control postpartum bleeding by contracting the uterus. That's kind of self-explanatory. Can't say that I've experienced it, but I know there.
Just when it won't clench, the uterus won't go back to contracting like it should, and so you really need to stop that bleeding. You don't want to hemorrhage and bleed out,
Right.
bleed to death, if you will. That's all.
Okay.
Yep.
And then I found this one really interesting: autism
Okay.
and social disorders. Studies suggest that oxytocin may improve social interaction and reduce anxiety in individuals with autism or other social disorders.
Okay.
So,
Autism, the
yes,
love hormone. What are we thinking with that? Like,
I'm thinking, because typically people who are autistic, they that social interactions is usually impacted in some kind of way. And so because they don't get those social interactions like most people, then they're probably not getting as much oxytocin. So
yeah.
I would think that if they're giving them synthetic oxytocin, it can kind of give them that sense of what they may be missing from socially, you know.
Okay.
I would right,
Say hug,
right,
copies or replicates a hug, because a
right,
lot of autistic children don't want to naturally be
right.
hugged and squoze. So yeah.
Yeah. That makes sense. Now I'm gonna tell you my brain goes to if there's a synthetic that we can give them to get the benefit of it, then and this is just me, right or wrong. I just think that maybe there may be some other ways naturally, especially if they can't be touched. There are other things that can probably make them feel,
There are. I would love to bring somebody on to talk about this more,
yeah,
but I know things like weighted blankets,
yes,
small spaces.
yes,
You literally, you think it's cute, or you sometimes because you don't understand are like, why has
mm,
this little man built a fort?
right,
You know what I mean? Can't nobody else get in. That's his hug or her
right,
hug.
and that's
So
that,
there are natural
yeah.
things.
And I think it's just about getting to know them. I know a few people, and they're all different. So you got to figure out what works. One may like a weighted blanket, one may not. One might like a
You
heated
gotta,
blanket.
you gotta
One,
pay attention. Yeah,
one may want to cuddle, and one may not. So it's really just about you getting to know. But I mean, it's good to know that they can be given some oxytocin if that is what it comes to. But I just think because I'm thinking it's a natural thing,
yeah,
and there are other ways to trigger its release,
yeah.
then it probably wouldn't be my first.
I told you it's the cute one, the little one of the babies I know. He's like, you can sit real close. Don't necessarily touch me and want to hug and cuddle, but just sit
Right.
real close and
Yeah.
put me against this little wall. I
Mm,
know you here. Don't touch me, but this is good.
right.
You really have to pay
And
attention because they
that, right,
are.
you said, maybe just knowing you there, or some of them might even just want the presence of you being in the room.
Sit right here. Don't move. Don't touch me. I was like, okay.
Yep.
All right. And then research shows that it may benefit people with an autistic spectrum disorder, which I don't know a lot about, the ASD, anxiety. We talked about the irritable bowel syndrome. And then let's talk about side effects really quick of oxytocin.
So, and so high doses or
Yes.
prolonged um,
Mm-hmm.
use of can cause headaches, nausea, vomiting, and seizures.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I'm still wrapping my brain around that one, but
The
I'm
only one I'm familiar with, if you want to, oops, sorry, which we'll go with is the nausea and vomiting. A lot of times in labor, they don't want to give you too much, or they're always asking, are you nauseous, right? Or do you have a headache? Are you feeling like you have to vomit? One, you're going through enough. And then, of course, they have that Zofran, or, an
yeah,
anti-nausea medicine ready for that. So that's the only thing I can think of when it comes to that. I
yeah,
wasn't sure about seizures, but that's good to know. But the
yeah.
nausea vomiting part is, I still go back to thinking about the pregnancy. How do we wrap this up? How do we put this all in a cute little bow?
Well, I would rather by, outside of the labor and, childbirth part of it, I would
Hmm.
say that, um, you know, make sure you have some good friends, some social, interactions,
Okay.
bond with people. I would say
Mm.
that's, I mean, obviously if you married, we just gone.
Have good sessions.
Right. But, it,
Make it great.
and even if you are married, you still need bonding and connections outside of your marriage. So,
And men folk or women or whoever, intimacy is not that. It's two different things. We'll
correct.
catch you on another podcast. But it's totally different and you do need it. It doesn't just happen. Yeah.
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 And so
So
that's what I would say. To me, my takeaway, that's the only part I can control really is being social and, making sure that you get a hug every now and then. 'Cause everybody, maybe
every now and again,
I'm not
right?
a hugger, so I'm saying that on purpose because I am not a hugger. Um,
And I am.
the
Listen.
older I get, the more I'm learning what a hug can do. So,
Oh, yeah. It can do wonders. And then before we hold on, I want to make sure we give credit. Our source was the Cleveland Clinic.
Yes.
right? And we'll put it in. So I don't want to. I want to make sure we
Oh,
give credit to
we
that.
also we also had medical news today. So yeah.
Okay, and medical news today. Okay, so those were our sources. So again, we're not doctors, but we really want to educate. Sometimes people, need the information and don't necessarily go looking for it. So in summary, if I may, if that's okay, oxytocin is the hormone, right? That the important role of it is social bonding, reproduction, and stress regulation. We talked about it being produced in the hypothalamus and released into the bloodstream where it exerts its effects. And then the oxytocin has medical applications for inducing labor, controlling postpartum bleeding, and potentially treating social disorders. So we hope that we shared something and taught you a little something today. I know we were learning as we were going and discussing it as well. Take a look at our other podcasts on these in this hormone series, and go to our YouTube page, Shifting Out Loud. Like, subscribe, share with another woman, male, and please share with males, because share with males. This is their education course on women's bodies, because sometimes I think men just don't understand how much women go through. And it doesn't necessarily mean that they don't care. It just means that they don't understand. And
Well,
so if you could share some understanding. Go ahead.
and just to put it out there that they can benefit from, they have these hormones too. All that we talked about is not just necessarily related to women. So
Yeah.
they produce these same ones. So, definitely open to everybody, but also we'll be coming back with our fifth episode where we're going to tie all of the happy hormones together, because we want to make sure that everyone gets these natural, naturally feel good. We don't want you to have to rely on anything other than Jesus to feel good. But
He made it, the creator, right? We,
right,
we
right,
we don't we want you to rely on the natural resources, if you
exactly.
will. Let's
So
do that. Yeah.
so definitely we're coming back to kind of tie these happy hormones together, and I think it's gonna be great. So